This book is not polite. It is not gentle. It does not exist to make you feel inspired for 10 minutes and then comfortable enough to go back to wasting your life. It exists to do something most people avoid until it's too late, force you to confront time, responsibility, and the quiet consequences of delay. If you're looking for something soft, close this now. If you want something real, keep listening. You don't lose your life all at once. You lose it slowly, in pieces so small you barely notice. You lose it in mornings. You hit snooze instead of acting. You lose it in years. You spend preparing instead of building. You lose it in conversations you avoid, risks you postpone, and dreams you downgrade until they fit inside your comfort. Then one day you wake up older, tired in a way sleep doesn't fix, and you realize the window you assumed would always be open is halfway shut. This book is about that window. One day you will be 40. That's not a threat, it's math. And when that day comes, you won't be judged by what you meant to do. You'll be judged by what you actually did while time was still flexible. One day you'll be 40, and it'll be too late. Chapter 1. The clock you're pretending not to hear. You don't feel old. That's the lie that keeps you comfortable, lazy, and dangerously calm. You wake up, stretch your body, check your phone, and nothing feels urgent enough to scare you. No pain screaming for attention. No deadline chasing you down the street. So your brain quietly whispers, "You're fine." You have time, and you believe it. That belief is poison. Time is not your friend. Time is not patient. Time is not generous. Time is a silent creditor that charges interest every single day, whether you acknowledge it or not. While you scroll, while you procrastinate, while you wait for motivation to magically appear, time is collecting payment. And the currency is your future. Right now, you are standing in the most deceptive phase of life. The phase where damage doesn't hurt yet. The phase where bad habits haven't fully shown their teeth. You can sleep late, eat garbage, avoid responsibility, and still function. You mistake this temporary tolerance for safety. It's not safety. It's a grace period, and grace periods expire without warning. You still believe motivation is something you receive, like a gift, like a mood, like inspiration will strike one morning and suddenly you'll become disciplined, focused, and unstoppable. That belief alone has destroyed millions of lives quietly. Motivation does not arrive first. Action does. Movement creates motivation. Waiting kills it. There is a clock in your life that never stops ticking. Not the one hanging on your wall or glowing on your phone screen. The internal one. The biological one. The psychological one. It counts energy, resilience, risk tolerance, recovery speed, patience, and hunger. Every year it takes a little more and gives nothing back. And you pretend you don't hear it because listening would force you to decide. Decisions are terrifying because decisions remove excuses. Once you decide, you can't hide behind confusion. You can't say, "I'm still figuring it out." A decision exposes whether you are serious or just talking. You tell yourself you're young. What you really mean is that you haven't paid the price yet. Fear hasn't fully introduced itself. Regret hasn't sat you down for a serious conversation. But it will. It always does. And when it comes, it doesn't shout. It suffocates. People think 40 is old. It isn't. 40 is when pretending stops working. 40 is when society stops asking what you might become and starts looking at what you actually built. 40 is when your story shifts from potential to proof, and that transition is brutal if you have nothing solid to point at. At 40, excuses sound embarrassing. At 40, unfinished dreams feel heavy. At 40, you don't get sympathy for indecision. You get quiet judgment. Not from others first, but from yourself. And self-judgment is the hardest to escape. Right now, you still have leverage. Leverage is the ability to turn effort into disproportionate results. When learning is faster, when recovery is quicker, when mistakes don't permanently scar your life. That leverage is youth. And you are spending it like it's unlimited. Comfort is the greatest thief of leverage. Comfort doesn't feel dangerous because it never attacks directly. It whispers. It soothes. It reassures you that today doesn't matter that much. It tells you that rest is self-care, even when it's really avoidance. Comfort never tells you that every delay compounds. Look around carefully. Most people didn't fail loudly. They didn't crash and burn in a dramatic explosion. They faded. They drifted. They slowly lowered their standards year after year. They chose what was easy instead of what was necessary. And one day they woke up older, heavier, tired, and confused about where their time went. They didn't make one catastrophic decision. They made thousands of small, reasonable ones. Skip the workout. Delay the project. Ignore the hard conversation. Settle for less. Each choice felt harmless. Together, they were lethal. You don't notice the damage day to day. That's why it works. Erosion never announces itself. It doesn't knock on your door. It doesn't send notifications. It happens silently while you're distracted. One grain at a time, your edge dulls, your hunger weakens. Your discipline rusts. You start needing motivation for things that once required none. You start negotiating with yourself over basic responsibilities. You start feeling tired before the work even begins. These are not personality traits. They are symptoms. You still talk about what you could become. That's a red flag. People who are building talk about what they're doing. People who are avoiding talk about potential. Potential is a fantasy that feels productive while demanding nothing. Be honest with yourself. You already know what you're avoiding, the routine you don't want to commit to, the skill you don't want to struggle through, the discipline that would expose your inconsistency. You know exactly what would move your life forward, and you choose not to do it, not because you can't. Because you don't want to be uncomfortable. That choice has a cost. A real cost. At first, the cost is invisible. That's why you keep paying it. You don't feel the confidence leaking away. You don't see the opportunities closing quietly. You don't notice how self-respect erodes every time you break a promise to yourself. But your body remembers. Your nervous system remembers. Your subconscious keeps score even when you pretend not to care, and one day that quiet score becomes a verdict. You think you have time to figure it out. You don't. Time is not a blank check. It's a countdown. And the scariest part is, you don't know how much is left. Most people waste their 20s and 30s preparing emotionally instead of acting physically. They wait to feel confident. They wait to feel ready. Ready is a myth. Readiness is created by repetition. Action produces clarity, not the other way around. Understand this. Without emotion, no one is coming to save you from the life you are slowly settling into. There is no dramatic wake-up call scheduled, no perfect moment forming in the future. No external force that will suddenly hand you discipline. If you keep waiting for alignment, you will age into regret while telling yourself a very convincing story about why it happened. You don't need inspiration. You need urgency. Urgency is not panic. Urgency is respect for reality. It's understanding that discipline is cheaper now than desperation will be later. It's realizing that every year you delay, the climb becomes steeper and lonelier. One day, you'll sit in a room and realize you are no longer the youngest, no longer the hungriest, no longer the one with endless time. And that realization will arrive with a question you cannot avoid. What did you do with your time? That question doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't care about your excuses. It only cares about your actions. Right now, you still have the ability to change direction, not the past. The trajectory. But trajectories only shift with force. Gentle thoughts won't move them. Quotes won't move them. Only sustained, uncomfortable action will. This chapter is not here to motivate you. It's here to corner you, to remove the illusion that you have unlimited chances. You don't. You have fewer chances than you think and more responsibility than you admit. The clock is ticking whether you listen or not. The only real question is whether you'll keep pretending you can't hear it or finally stand up and move before silence turns into regret. Chapter 2. You are not confused. You are avoiding. Listen carefully. This needs to be slow, clear, direct. You are not confused. Confusion is not your problem. Avoidance is. Confusion is just the excuse you use when you don't want to admit the truth. And the truth is uncomfortable. The truth is that you already know what to do, and you are choosing not to do it. If you were truly confused, you would be experimenting. You would be trying things. You would be failing forward. But that's not what you're doing. You're waiting. You're consuming. You're thinking. You're watching other people live while telling yourself you're preparing. Preparation without action is avoidance, dressed up as intelligence. Say this slowly in your mind. I am not stuck. I am paused by fear. Fear of discomfort. Fear of effort. Fear of finding out that success takes longer than you hoped. Fear of discovering that discipline is boring and lonely and repetitive. So instead of moving, you stall. And instead of admitting fear, you call it confusion. Here is how you know this is true. You are not confused about what ruins your life. You know exactly what wastes your time. You know which habits drain your energy. You know which people pull you backward. You know what you should stop doing, and you know what you should start doing. That is not confusion, that is resistance. You keep waiting for clarity. Clarity does not arrive before action. It arrives because of action. This is not philosophy. This is reality. Every person who ever built something meaningful started without clarity. They started with a direction and adjusted while moving. You are trying to adjust before you move, and that guarantees you stay still. Let this land. You do not think your way into a new life. You behave your way into one. Another lie you repeat is that you need passion. You don't. Passion is unreliable. Passion shows up when conditions are perfect and disappears the moment effort is required. Discipline is what stays when passion leaves. And discipline is not something you feel. It is something you schedule. You don't wait to feel motivated to brush your teeth. You don't wait for inspiration to go to work. You don't wait for passion to eat or sleep. You do those things because they are non-negotiable. Progress works the same way. When you negotiate with yourself daily, you lose daily. Pay attention to your patterns. When something gets hard, you question the goal. When progress slows, you look for a new method. When boredom appears, you search for motivation. This constant restarting feels productive, but it is just avoidance of consistency. Starting is exciting. Continuing is not. That's why most people are excellent beginners and terrible finishers. Consistency feels dull because it removes emotion, no drama, no rush, no novelty. Just repetition. And repetition forces you to face yourself without distraction. That's why people avoid it. Boredom exposes character. Look at your own history. How many things? Chapter 3. Who you are is what you repeat. Listen carefully. Stop pretending you are in transition. Stop pretending you are becoming. Who you are right now is the sum of what you do daily. Every choice, every habit, every delayed task, every surrendered moment has built you into the person in this room, at this moment, listening to this. And that person is either capable of more than they realize or quietly settling. There is no neutral. There is no waiting. Every single repetition is a brick, and you are constructing either a foundation or a cage. The world doesn't care which. The world only cares whether you produce or whether you fade. Do you feel the weight of that? You should. You feel it every time you look in the mirror and avoid certain questions. Questions like, have I done enough to earn my own respect? Have I built habits that will carry me to where I want to go? Have I allowed fear, laziness, and distraction to shape my identity more than courage, discipline, and work? Identity is not abstract. Identity is mechanical. It is habitual. It is formed in repetition. You think you are thinking, but thinking without doing is a lie. Doing consistently is identity. You are not defined by what you dream, what you plan, what you hope. You are defined by what you consistently execute. And right now, that definition is being written, whether you like it or not. Your mornings are a test. How you start the day isn't ceremonial. It is fundamental. The moment you wake, you choose. You choose to scroll, to linger, to put off, to stay in comfort. Or you choose to move, to act, to confront the small resistances that will, over time, determine your entire trajectory. 1 hour wasted this morning compounds across decades, quietly stealing your leverage, slowly eroding your confidence, silently teaching your brain that your word is meaningless. Every time you ignore that, the pattern repeats. You are training yourself to accept less. You are teaching yourself to settle, and every day you settle, your potential shrinks. Do not fool yourself into thinking that later will save you. Later does not exist. Later is a lie that keeps you entertained and unthreatened. Later is the quiet killer that arrives disguised as tomorrow I'll start. Every tomorrow you choose comfort over challenge. The distance between who you are and who you could be doubles. Time compresses and the clock is ruthless. You do not get extra energy to make up for wasted years. You do not get extra health, extra clarity, extra resilience. You get what remains, and each wasted opportunity leaves you weaker. Let's be precise. Habits are invisible architects. They are silent engineers building either your freedom or your prison. Every time you skip discipline, every time you choose distraction, you are literally reinforcing a structure that will limit your choices, limit your energy, limit your life. And those limits will hit harder than you expect. not potential, not intention. Repetition, execution, action. That is the language identity understands. You tell yourself you are trying, but trying is cheap. Trying does not construct. Effort is worthless without follow-through. Commitment is heavy. Commitment is non-negotiable. Commitment forces consistency, and consistency is the invisible lever that separates the people who age into achievement from the people who age into regret. The human brain is designed for shortcuts. It craves ease. It hides from pain. It rationalizes inaction. That is why most people fail, not because they are incapable, but because they are obedient to discomfort avoidance. And here is the brutal truth. Your excuses are nothing more than training for a weak life. Every rationalization you feed yourself today becomes a habit tomorrow, and habits are destiny in disguise. Discipline is never convenient. Discipline is never exciting. Discipline is almost always lonely and boring and repetitive, but the results it produces are invisible at first, then unstoppable. Without discipline, brilliance dies in the planning stage. Talent stagnates. Opportunity passes silently. And eventually you discover that you are older than you expected, with fewer options than you thought. And you wonder how you got here. The answer is simple: repetition. Every day, invisible choices. Every day, tiny bricks in the structure you now inhabit. That is how life accumulates. Now consider fear. Fear is your internal alarm system. But fear is also your most honest friend. When fear rises, it is signaling where growth lies. When you feel discomfort, it is pointing at the exact habit, conversation, action, or challenge that will move your life forward. The problem is that most people flee fear, and in fleeing, they train themselves into mediocrity. They choose comfort, and that choice compounds, just like every other choice. Mediocrity is not born. It is constructed one fearful moment at a time, and that construction is slow, subtle, invisible, but unrelenting. Think about procrastination. It is not a lack of time. It is a lack of respect for time. You do not waste seconds, you waste the leverage of your life. You waste energy that could have produced mastery, momentum, and resilience. You waste mornings, evenings, weekends, moments that feel small, but are the actual structure of life. And the accumulation is devastating. And that realization will feel cruel because it is entirely preventable. You were warned. You were given clarity. You were given energy. And you chose avoidance instead. There is no redemption in tomorrow unless tomorrow begins today. No miracle in opportunity without risk. No awakening without action. It is brutal but simple. Action compounds. Inaction compounds. Neither can be reversed. You are either building yourself daily, minute by minute, or you are dismantling yourself. And dismantling is painless at first, until you look back and the years have vanished. Look at the people around you. The ones who succeed are not smarter. They are not more talented. They are not luckier. They are more consistent. They chose to honor their repetitions, to respect their commitments, to perform the invisible work when no one was watching. They trained their identity. They built their systems, and their systems carry them through boredom, fear, and setbacks, silently, daily, relentlessly. You can do the same, but only if you start now, without pause, without debate, without permission. The moment you delay, the window narrows. Every second counts. Every moment counts. Every repetition counts. This chapter is not a pep talk. It is a blueprint. It is the architecture of reality. The brutal, unflinching, non-negotiable truth that every habit, every choice, every repetition is building your future self right now. You do not get to skip it. You do not get to postpone it. You cannot delegate it. Only you decide. Only you act. Only you repeat. And that repetition will decide whether your life turns into regret or proof of your capacity. Understand this fully. You cannot outrun time. You cannot avoid consequence. You cannot negotiate with reality. You either repeat excellence daily, in the boring moments, in the unseen hours, in the small, uncelebrated actions that nobody notices but you. Or you repeat mediocrity, slowly, invisibly, until one day you wake up 40 and realize the consequences of your own repetition. The choice is not theoretical. It is not distant. It is not tomorrow. It is now, always now. Every day, every moment, every choice. Repeat or fade. That is life's law. That is your identity. That is what you are building. Now, today, without excuses. Chapter 4. The Cost of Comfort and the Price of Time. Everything you have ever wanted lies outside your comfort zone. Comfort is seductive. It whispers that you are fine, that you deserve rest, that the risk can wait. It is the enemy disguised as a friend. Every choice you make to avoid discomfort is a choice to pay a price later, and that price is heavier than you think. It is the weight of lost potential, the erosion of confidence, the slow decay of the dreams you once held sacred. Time is cruel, but honest. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't pause for your excuses. It doesn't wait until you feel ready. Every second you spend in comfort compounds into years of lost opportunity. Every moment you delay action is a moment closer to 40, to the point where you will look back and realize that the life you could have had is slipping through your fingers. You think you are making small choices. They feel insignificant, but the aggregation of small choices defines your trajectory. Every skipped workout, every hour spent scrolling, every conversation avoided, every opportunity declined. These are bricks in the structure of a mediocre life, and those bricks are heavy. One day, they will crush you under their weight, silently and mercilessly. Look at the people who succeed. They are not extraordinary. They simply accept discomfort as a cost of progress. They embrace boredom, repetition, and routine. They push through resistance when the world around them seduces them to stop. They act when fear rises. They do what you are avoiding, and they do it consistently. That is why they are ahead. That is why their lives are a reflection of effort compounded over time. That is why they are where you want to be. Now, examine your life. Every time you choose ease over effort, you are silently training yourself to settle. Every time you avoid risk, you are teaching yourself that mediocrity is acceptable. You tell yourself that comfort is temporary, that you'll start tomorrow, that conditions will improve, that motivation will arrive. These are lies you repeat to justify inaction. And the more you repeat them, the more ingrained they become, the harder it is to break free. Your body remembers. Your mind remembers. Even if you ignore the lessons, they are inscribed in your habits, in your muscle memory, in your attention span. You cannot outrun the consequences of your choices. Avoidance compounds into weakness, laziness, and a diminished sense of self. And one day, that weakened self becomes permanent, unless you act now. It is measured in lost opportunities, faded dreams, and the quiet despair of realizing too late that you had everything you needed to succeed, but you chose distraction instead. The cost of time is unrelenting. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't grant reprieves. It marches forward, indifferent to your readiness, indifferent to your excuses, indifferent to your fears. You have leverage now. Leverage of energy, resilience, health, and opportunity. But leverage is finite. It diminishes with every wasted day, with every delay, with every choice to settle. And unlike money, you cannot earn it back. You cannot borrow it from the future. You cannot save it for a rainy day. Once it is gone, it is gone. And the harsh reality is that most people spend their youth in comfort and their later years paying for it in regret. You need to decide. Are you going to spend your time wisely, building, creating, executing, and pushing against discomfort? Or are you going to spend it in ease, slowly eroding your potential, quietly training yourself to accept less than you deserve? The answer is not theoretical. It is practical. Every choice you make today compounds tomorrow. Every action, every inaction, every moment of courage or cowardice shapes the life you will have at 40. Start by acknowledging that comfort is a choice, and so is effort. Neither is passive. Both require action. Every time you choose comfort, you pay. Every time you choose effort, you invest. And the returns on investment are exponential, invisible at first, but unstoppable over time. That is the law of leverage. That is the law of growth. And that law applies to you whether you like it or not. Your future self is watching. Your future self is waiting. Your future self is asking, what did you do with your time? What did you invest in? What did you build? What did you refuse to settle for? And the answer will be written not in intentions, not in plans, not in dreams, but in repeated actions. Repeated efforts. Repeated choices to prioritize growth over comfort, discipline over ease, effort over excuses. You are capable. You are not powerless. But capability without action is meaningless. You have all the tools, all the energy, all the potential. But if you do not act, that potential becomes wasted. Every day you delay, the cost rises. Every moment you defer, the burden compounds. And one day you will look back and wonder why you allowed comfort to dictate your life. This is the moment to act. This is the hour to choose discomfort over ease, This is the point where you decide whether you will be remembered for what you built or forgotten in the silent erosion of mediocrity. The clock is ticking. The cost of comfort is already accumulating. The price of wasted time is already due. You have leverage now, but it will not last forever. Every second is a brick in the structure of your life. Build wisely or build your cage. Chapter 5. Accountability is the bridge to your future. No one is going to hand you success, discipline, or fulfillment on a silver plate. Life does not negotiate. Life does not excuse. Every time you make a choice to blame, you delay growth. You postpone action. You train yourself to be comfortable in mediocrity. And that is the cost of refusing accountability. Accountability is not optional. It is the bridge between who you are now and who you could be. Without it, your potential remains a story you tell yourself while the days pass. With it, you harness clarity, structure, and progress. Accountability is not a badge or a tool for show. It is the relentless recognition that your actions, every single one, have consequences. Your successes, your failures, your stagnation, all of it is the result of choices you make and choices you avoid. Most people think accountability is external. They imagine a boss, a teacher, a friend, or some authority figure checking in to keep them honest. That is superficial. External accountability only works temporarily. It can prod you, remind you, or pressure you. But external mechanisms fail when the person you look to stop monitoring you, when life gets busy, when the eyes are gone. Real accountability is internal. It is staring at yourself in the mirror and asking, honestly, every day, did I act according to my standards, or did I shrink? Standards. That word is heavier than you imagine. Standards are not arbitrary. They are non-negotiable thresholds that you set for yourself. They define your self-respect. They determine the trajectory of your life. If you allow your standards to slip, even slightly, every day, you are negotiating your future. You are giving permission for comfort to dictate the terms of your life. You are agreeing to settle, one decision at a time, for less than you are capable of. Here is the reality. Excuses are easy, but they are lethal. Every time you rationalize why you didn't act, why you delayed, why you avoided discomfort, you are building a habit of inaction. Your mind becomes trained to defend inaction as reason, to glorify comfort, and to demonize effort. You are crafting a version of yourself that will regret everything quietly. That version is not theoretical. It is forming with every delayed task, every skipped challenge, every day you choose convenience over growth. Accountability forces confrontation. It forces recognition. It forces you to assess your patterns honestly. And the first confrontation is terrifying. Because when you look at yourself without excuses, you realize just how many times you have settled. You realize how often you let fear dictate choices. You realize how many mornings you hit snooze on discipline, how many hours you scroll instead of create, How many opportunities passed while you rationalized inaction? But this confrontation is necessary. Without it, your life becomes a series of incremental compromises until one day you wake up 40 and wonder how you arrived in a place you never intended. Accountability is the antidote to that quiet erosion. It is the mechanism that interrupts the decay and redirects your energy toward meaningful, cumulative action. Start small. Accountability does not require grand gestures. It begins with noticing patterns, acknowledging the choices you made, and committing to do better immediately. It is reporting to yourself honestly about whether your actions align with your stated goals. It is marking each day with a conscious evaluation. What did I do that advanced my life? What did I do that delayed it? And what will I do differently tomorrow? This is uncomfortable. That discomfort is good. Comfort is not productive. Ease is not progress. Pain and unease are the signals that you are pushing beyond your habitual boundaries. When you feel uncomfortable facing your own choices, that is the exact moment where growth resides. Do not retreat. Lean into it. Embrace it. Use it as fuel. Let's talk about discipline. Discipline is the tangible expression of accountability. It is the bridge that connects recognition of failure with corrective action. Discipline is not about motivation. Motivation is fleeting. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline is consistent. Discipline requires that you follow through, even when you do not feel like it, even when distractions scream for your attention, even when excuses try to soothe your discomfort. Discipline is action in the face of resistance. It is the measure of whether you can truly honor your standards. You will fail. Accept it now. Failure is inevitable because you have spent so long avoiding discomfort that your system is not accustomed to deliberate, consistent effort. But failure is not fatal. Repetition, reflection, and accountability turn failure into feedback. Avoidance turns failure into decay. Which do you choose? Your future self is watching. Every time you deflect responsibility, you withdraw from your future. The balance sheet of your life is written in these daily, repeated actions. It is unrelenting, it is precise, and it will not lie to you. Think about the people you admire. Think about the lives you envy. Do they have perfect circumstances? No, they have consistency. They have accountability. They have the courage to confront themselves and their choices relentlessly. They have developed systems that carry them through discomfort, fatigue, and fear. They do not wait for motivation. They act because they recognize the cost of delay. That is why they are ahead. That is why they are building legacies. You have the same capacity. You have the same hours. You have the same potential. But potential is worthless without application. Talent is meaningless without action. Intelligence is futile without effort. Accountability is the bridge that converts potential into reality, talent into mastery, and intelligence into accomplishment. It is non-negotiable. and it begins today, in this very moment. So confront yourself, list your excuses, recognize your failures, write down every instance where you avoided action. Face it, without defense, without rationalization, and then commit. Commit to do differently, commit to act consistently. Commit to honor your standards. Commit to push beyond comfort. Commit to embrace the discomfort that will define the next chapters of your life. The path is simple, though not easy. Observe, reflect, correct, repeat. That is the formula. That is the blueprint. That is the relentless mechanism by which ordinary days accumulate into extraordinary lives. Every repetition strengthens identity. Every action compounds leverage. Every choice shapes destiny. Accountability is the lever. Discipline is the tool. Action is the motion. Together, they carve the life that you will inhabit at 40 and beyond. The clock is unforgiving. The cost of delay is real. Comfort is seductive. Excuses are deadly. But you are capable. You are equipped. You are watching. And you can choose now to close the gap between who you are and who you must become. Take ownership. Embrace accountability. Confront yourself and act. Relentlessly, consistently, without pause, without negotiation. Your future depends on it. Chapter 6. Mastering Daily. Action and confronting fear. Mastery is not a concept reserved for the gifted. It is a process, a deliberate cultivation of consistent action, day in and day out, against resistance and fear. The gap between who you are and who you could be is bridged not by intention, not by inspiration, not by fleeting motivation, but by the relentless accumulation of deliberate, disciplined action. Every day you delay, every task you postpone, every fear you let control you, is compounding the life you will regret if you do not confront it now. Fear is the constant companion of growth. It is your mind's alarm system, signaling the edge of your comfort. Every time you hesitate, every time you rationalize, every time you retreat from discomfort, you are reinforcing avoidance, not wisdom. The body and mind crave safety, but safety is the enemy of progress. You must act despite fear. You must confront the trembling inside and step forward while it screams for retreat. This is non-negotiable. The life you desire exists on the other side of that fear. Daily action is the crucible in which identity is forged. Every repeated effort is a brick laid in the foundation of the self you are constructing. Skipping a day, delaying a task, excusing inaction, it is not trivial, it is corrosive. Habits compound, excellence compounds, mediocrity compounds, and you are making those choices every moment, whether consciously or not. The question is whether you will control them or let them control you. Start by dismantling excuses. Each excuse is a diversion, a lie you tell yourself to avoid the discomfort of responsibility. Excuses feel comforting, but they are lethal. They are subtle predators, quiet but effective, eroding discipline, confidence, and future opportunity. Identify them, call them out, and neutralize them through immediate action. The moment you rationalize, you must respond with execution. It is not enough to plan. It is not enough to intend. You must act now. Structure is the weapon of mastery. Without structure, energy dissipates, focus wanes, and fear wins. A disciplined schedule is non-negotiable. Each day should be mapped with precision, each task assigned purpose and time, each period of effort protected against distraction. The world will attempt to steal your attention, to seduce you into comfort, to numb you with triviality. Your schedule is the shield against that theft. Guard it fiercely. Treat your time as the most valuable asset you possess, because it is. Procrastination is the enemy of mastery. It masquerades as preparation, contemplation, research, planning, and waiting for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. There is only action. The longer you delay, the more entrenched resistance becomes. Fear grows stronger. Momentum wanes. Confidence erodes. Action is the only antidote. Immediate, consistent, and relentless action is the only path to mastery. And the first step is the hardest, because it forces confrontation with your own weakness. Every action you take in alignment with your goals strengthens your identity. Identity is not abstract. It is mechanical. It is a reflection of the repeated choices you make. When you choose effort consistently, you become someone capable of effort. When you choose courage consistently, you become someone unshakable in the face of fear. When you choose excellence consistently, you become someone worthy of achievement. It is non-negotiable. Who you are is determined by what you repeat. Failure is inevitable. The path to mastery is littered with setbacks, errors, and challenges. Accept this reality without complaint. Avoidance of failure is the road to stagnation. Confront it directly. Analyze it. Learn from it. Adjust. Repeat. Each failure that is met with persistence and reflection compounds into skill, confidence, and resilience. Every failure avoided compounds into weakness, hesitation, and self-doubt. Choose which you want to accumulate. Visualization and intention without action are worthless. Your mind can imagine success endlessly, but imagination alone builds nothing. Your body and habits, not your thoughts, define results. Intentions must be translated into practice, plans must be executed, courage must be acted upon, fear must be faced. Immediate, decisive, and repeated action transforms potential into reality. Energy is finite, but focus is compounding. Guard your focus as you would guard a treasure. Avoid distractions. Reduce options. Remove unnecessary decisions. Every choice that consumes your mental energy without delivering progress is a hidden tax on your future self. Mastery demands clarity, prioritization, and the ruthless elimination of trivialities. Time is your currency. Spend it wisely. Accountability continues to be your lever. External accountability is helpful but temporary. Internal accountability is permanent. Hold yourself responsible for every day, every hour, every task. When you fall short, admit it. Reflect, correct, and act immediately to compensate. The practice of confronting yourself with brutal honesty, then taking immediate action, accelerates growth more than any book, seminar, or mentor. External guidance is secondary. Ownership of your actions is primary. Confronting fear and mastering daily action is not an option. It is a requirement if you want a life of significance. Each moment spent hesitating, avoiding, or rationalizing is a moment spent constructing a life of regret. The world does not pause, the clock does not slow, and potential does not wait. Act now. Build habits that reinforce courage. Build routines that eliminate procrastination. Build identity that mirrors excellence. Repeat. Repetition compounds, momentum builds. Confidence solidifies, fear diminishes. You are capable, you are equipped. You have the power to act, to endure, to repeat, to master. But that power is meaningless without practice. The next few hours, the next few days, the next moments of action or inaction will determine the trajectory of your life. Mastery is a choice. Consistency is a choice. Courage is a choice. And every choice is yours, every day, every moment. Do not delay. Do not rationalize. Do not wait for motivation. Act. Confront fear. Repeat relentlessly. Build identity through action. Accumulate skill through consistency. And remember, mastery is not achieved by the inspired few. It is achieved by the disciplined many who refuse to allow fear, comfort, or procrastination to dictate their future. These are not physical walls, but mental constructs, beliefs they have accepted as truths, stories they tell themselves to justify inaction, fear, and mediocrity. Every "I can't," "I'm not ready," "I'm too late" is a brick in that prison. The cruel reality is that these beliefs are mostly lies. They are convenient excuses that feel safe. They feel protective, they feel reasonable, but they are lethal to progress. Self-deception is subtle. It disguises itself as rational thought. It makes procrastination look like preparation. It makes avoidance appear as careful consideration. It makes comfort appear as wisdom. And because it is subtle, it is also deadly. Here is the first brutal truth. Most people never question their assumptions. They inherit beliefs from parents, culture, society, friends, media, and accept them without scrutiny. They are never challenged. They never test them. And those untested beliefs become the walls of their prison. The moment you question your assumptions, you create a crack in that wall. The moment you confront self-deception, you open the door to possibility. Fear disguises itself as limiting beliefs. I can't do this because I lack skill. I'm too old. I'll fail. These are not facts. They are rationalizations. They are fear in disguise. The moment you recognize that, you neutralize its power. Action begins to feel possible. Consistent action dismantles self-deception brick by brick. Every step forward disproves a lie. Every completion shatters a limiting belief. Progress is the proof. Execution is the evidence. And in that proof, freedom is born. You have to confront the hardest part, yourself. Your excuses, your patterns, your moments of cowardice. your repeated compromises. Look at them, acknowledge them, accept responsibility, and then break the chain. Do not rationalize, do not soften the truth. Action is the antidote to deception. Every day you delay, every task you avoid, every fear you surrender to, you reinforce the lie that you are powerless. And every day you act, you reinforce the truth. You are capable, you are resilient, you are unstoppable if you refuse to accept limitations that are not real. Time is merciless. The longer you wait, the more those limiting beliefs solidify. You are not becoming stronger by waiting. You are building a habit of inaction. You are teaching your mind to obey fear, to accept compromise, to settle quietly. And the cost is not theoretical, it is tangible. It is your wasted years. It is your unachieved potential. It is your silent regret waiting to greet you at 40. Breaking limiting beliefs requires action. Reading, thinking, planning. These are preparation. Execution is liberation. Every action you take against fear, discomfort, or procrastination is a step toward breaking the chains. Momentum compounds. Courage compounds. Skill compounds. Confidence compounds. Avoidance compounds too, but in reverse. It compounds regret, erosion, and quiet desperation. Choose carefully what you compound every day. You also need honesty, brutal, unflinching, relentless honesty. This is not introspection that comforts. This is confrontation that burns. Name every lie you have told yourself. Name every limitation you have accepted. And challenge each one. Prove them wrong through action. Let your deeds be louder than your doubts. Let your consistency outpace your fear. Let your courage disprove your hesitation. The more honest you are, the faster you dismantle self-deception. Action must be immediate. Waiting for readiness, clarity, perfect conditions, or ideal circumstances is surrender. The perfect moment does not exist. The perfect conditions will never arrive. Your future self will not tolerate your delay, and yet, here you are, hesitating, rationalizing, entertaining fear, trapped by beliefs you can disprove simply by acting. Build momentum through repetition. Daily victories, even small ones, are massive in their cumulative effect. Every fear confronted, every task completed, every uncomfortable choice made reinforces your identity, rewrites your assumptions, and shatters the prison walls. Momentum is proof that you are capable. Momentum is proof that action is powerful. Momentum is proof that limiting beliefs are lies. You are not your fear. You are not your excuses. You are not your past. You are the sum of the actions you take consistently, relentlessly, despite discomfort. Every day is an opportunity to break chains. Every hour is a chance to confront deception. Every moment of courage is a brick removed from the walls that confine you. Do not waste it. Do not surrender it. Do not allow the lies you once believed to define the next 20, 30, 40 years. This chapter is a call to confront yourself with brutal honesty, dismantle the beliefs that hold you back, and act with relentless consistency. Your freedom, your mastery, your life depends on it. Fear and self-deception will not go away on their own. You must face them. You must act, and through action, you will break barriers, rewrite your story, and claim the life that is waiting for you if you refuse to accept anything less than your potential. Chapter 8: Leveraging Time and Building Unstoppable Momentum. Every hour you delay is a portion of your life that will never return. Most people live as if time is infinite, as if tomorrow will forgive the inertia of today. It will not. Time is ruthless. It does not pause. It does not negotiate. And the harshest truth is this: one day you will wake up 40, and the sum of your wasted moments will stand in stark contrast to the life you could have built. Momentum is your weapon. It is the force multiplier of action, the compounding effect that takes small victories and turns them into unstoppable energy. But momentum cannot be conjured from inaction. It must be earned through consistent effort, repeated practice, and deliberate confrontation with discomfort. Every completed task, every fear faced, every moment you push past hesitation is a pulse of momentum, building an unstoppable current that carries you forward. Leverage your time like a master strategist. Understand that every decision, every action, every allocation of energy carries a weight of consequence. Do not squander your hours on trivialities. Do not allow distractions to dictate your focus. Prioritize relentlessly. Every task should serve your growth, your goals, or your future self. If it does not, it is a drain on your momentum and a theft from your potential. Do not underestimate the power of small actions. They appear insignificant in isolation, but repetition compounds. A single hour of disciplined work may seem trivial today, but repeated over months, years, decades, it produces results that overwhelm those who wait for inspiration or luck. Momentum is built in increments, and the only way to achieve it is through relentless daily action. There is no substitute, no shortcut, no magic formula. The enemy of momentum is hesitation. Indecision steals energy, dilutes focus, and erodes confidence. Every time you delay, you add friction to your path, making future action harder. Action must be immediate. Start before you feel ready. Begin even when fear rises. Execute even when motivation wanes. Momentum cannot wait for permission. It must be seized. Time amplifies consequences. Every delay, every distraction, every avoidance grows larger over years. The cost of a day wasted may seem small, but the cost of repeated days, weeks, months, and years is monumental. One day you will realize that the difference between who you are and who you could have been is not talent or luck. It is the accumulation of moments wasted, opportunities forgone, and momentum lost. Discipline is the engine of momentum. It is the force that converts intention into action, fear into courage, and hesitation into execution. Without discipline, momentum falters. With discipline, it accelerates. Daily routines, deliberate habits, and structured schedules are not bureaucratic restrictions. They are the mechanisms that sustain action, channel energy, and ensure that every day compounds into progress. Neglect them, and momentum crumbles. Honor them, and you become unstoppable. Energy management is critical. Time alone is not enough. How you deploy it determines results. Avoid draining activities, low-value engagements, and trivial distractions. Invest energy where it produces returns. Protect your focus fiercely. Guard your environment against the subtle thieves of time, social media, meaningless tasks, endless entertainment, and mental clutter. Every hour mismanaged is a brick in the prison of regret, while every hour leveraged compounds into freedom and achievement. Accountability fuels momentum. When you hold yourself to standards, report to your own metrics, and track progress honestly, you reinforce the cycle of action. External validation is temporary, but internal accountability compounds. It transforms small, daily actions into unstoppable trajectories. It ensures that momentum continues even when external pressures vanish. You are responsible for the speed and direction of your life. Fear will try to slow momentum. Doubt will whisper. Comfort will seduce. All of it is natural. The difference between those who achieve and those who settle is not absence of fear, it is action despite fear. Momentum thrives on action. Each decisive step, each completed task, each moment of courage accelerates progress. Each avoidance, each hesitation, each rationalization decelerates it. Visualize the life you want at 40. Imagine the regrets if you do not act. Imagine the doors that will close, the potential that will wither, the opportunities that will vanish. Then use that fear as fuel. Momentum feeds on urgency. It accelerates when stakes are clear. The more you feel the cost of delay, the faster you act. Every second becomes a lever. Every choice becomes an accelerator. Every action compounds relentlessly. Leverage is not just about speed, it is about efficiency. Prioritize high-impact actions. Focus on the activities that produce the largest results relative to effort. Ignore trivialities. Ruthlessly eliminate low-value tasks. Momentum is amplified when your actions are strategically aligned with your goals. Chaos, distraction, and indecision are the brakes that halt progress. Clarity and focus are the fuel that propels it forward. The clock is unrelenting. The days will pass, whether you act or not. Your future self will inherit the consequences of your choices today. If you act, momentum compounds. If you delay, regret compounds. This is simple math, but most fail to calculate it. Most will find themselves at 40 wondering where the time went, why their potential remains unrealized, and why their life is not the reflection of their capability. Harness momentum. Leverage your time. Act relentlessly. Build routines that enforce action. Protect focus and energy. Prioritize courage over comfort. Repeat daily. Let momentum become unstoppable. This is the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. This is the difference between living a life dictated by fear and comfort and living a life defined by execution, discipline, and relentless progress. Your future depends on the speed and consistency of your actions today. Chapter 9: Resilience and Overcoming Setbacks. Life is not linear. Progress is not guaranteed. The path to 40 is strewn with obstacles, failures, and moments that test every ounce of your resolve. Resilience is not optional. It is the engine that allows you to continue when circumstances, people, and even your own fears try to stop you. It is what separates those who build legacies from those who are defined by compromise and defeat. Setbacks are inevitable. They come in the form of failed attempts, lost opportunities, rejection, criticism, and unexpected events. What defines you is not the setback itself, but your response. Each failure is a lesson in disguise. Every obstacle is a test of your commitment. Every challenge is a mirror showing how much you are willing to endure for your vision. Resilience is choosing to act again and again when giving up feels easier than continuing. Accept that failure is part of growth. Accept that discomfort is unavoidable. Accept that the world does not owe you fairness. This does not mean resignation. It means acknowledgement of reality. Once you see the landscape clearly, you can navigate it strategically rather than reacting blindly. Acceptance allows clarity, and clarity allows action. Resilience is cultivated through action. Every time you confront a challenge instead of retreating, you strengthen your mental fortitude. Every time you push through discomfort instead of surrendering, you reinforce your capacity to endure. Every time you persist when others would quit, you build the muscle of resilience. Habits of endurance compound just like skills. They prepare you for the unexpected, the difficult, and the moments when motivation is absent. Your mind will fight you. Fear, doubt, and self-pity will rise. They are natural. The difference is whether you obey or override them. Resilience requires discipline over emotion. It requires repeated, consistent choices to act despite internal resistance. It is not the absence of fear, it is mastery of action in the presence of fear. It is the conscious decision to move forward regardless of uncertainty or discomfort. Every setback contains feedback. Analyze it ruthlessly. Identify what went wrong, what you can control, and what is irrelevant. Learn the lesson. Adjust your approach. Take action again. Momentum and resilience are intertwined. Without momentum, setbacks feel crushing. With momentum, they feel like minor detours. Action transforms pain into growth. Hesitation transforms pain into stagnation. Surround yourself with reinforcement. Resilience is not purely internal. The environment you choose, the people you associate with, the resources you access, all influence your capacity to endure. Seek individuals who challenge you, who hold you accountable, who model endurance, who provide guidance. Avoid those who normalize excuses, celebrate mediocrity, or diminish ambition. Your ecosystem compounds your resilience just as much as your habits. Time compounds resilience. Every challenge you overcome is a deposit into your capacity to face future adversity. Every failure you rebound from increases your threshold for difficulty. Every habit of endurance reinforces your identity as someone who does not quit. By the time you reach 40, the accumulation of these victories, even the small, unseen ones, creates a person capable of extraordinary achievement. Conversely, avoidance compounds weakness, fragility, and regret. The narrative you tell yourself matters. Self-talk is the lens through which setbacks are interpreted. Do not allow temporary failure to define permanent identity. Replace defeatist narratives with statements of action, growth, and capability. Speak to yourself as the person you aim to become. Reinforce your standards, your goals, and your commitment through consistent mental conditioning. Your internal dialogue shapes your resilience as much as external action. Visualize recovery, not retreat. When a setback strikes, see yourself overcoming it. Imagine the step-by-step path to re-engagement. Rehearse the action mentally, then execute physically. Visualization primes action, and execution compounds it. Momentum resumes. Confidence rebuilds. Fear diminishes. The cycle of resilience strengthens with each repetition. Your future self depends on your present capacity to endure. Every moment of weakness you indulge now, every retreat you permit, every rationalization you accept, builds a future where regret dominates. Every action taken, every obstacle faced, every discomfort embraced, builds a future where achievement, pride, and freedom dominate. Resilience is the lever. Consistency is the force. Action is the motion. Together, they construct a life that defies obstacles. Remember, the world does not pause for recovery. Challenges do not wait for readiness. Setbacks are inevitable, but your response determines your trajectory. Confront, act, persist, adjust, repeat. Build the muscle of resilience. Because by 40, your identity, your capability, and your legacy will be defined by the cumulative power of the choices you make today in the face of adversity. Chapter 10. Leaving a Legacy and the Urgency of Action. 40 is not just a number, it is a threshold. A moment in time where reflection confronts reality. It is the culmination of your choices, your habits, your courage, and your discipline. Every day you have lived, every decision you have made, every fear you have faced or avoided, accumulates into a life that either fulfills your potential or diminishes it. Leaving a legacy is not about fame, wealth, or recognition. It is about impact. It is about the difference you make in the world, the lives you touch, the value you create. It is about refusing to live a life dictated by mediocrity and choosing instead to leave evidence of your existence through action, influence, and accomplishment. Legacy is the reflection of your discipline, your resilience, and your relentless pursuit of growth. The urgency is real. Time is a river that flows relentlessly forward, indifferent to excuses, hesitation, or preparation. Every moment delayed is a moment lost forever. Procrastination, comfort, distraction, and fear are the silent killers of potential. They are subtle, seductive, and relentless. The moment you underestimate them, they accumulate, and suddenly 40 arrives, and you are faced with a life that is not the one you imagined. Action is the antidote. Immediate, consistent, deliberate action transforms potential into reality. It turns fear into courage, hesitation into momentum, and dreams into tangible results. Every choice to act compounds over time. Every small victory reinforces identity. Every moment of courage strengthens capability. And the cumulative effect is unstoppable. By the time you reach 40, the person you have built will be a testament to the decisions you make today. Accountability remains your lever. Hold yourself to the highest standards. Do not delegate responsibility to external forces. The world does not ensure your growth, only you can. Confront yourself honestly. Acknowledge where you have fallen short. Analyze what has worked. Adjust and act relentlessly. It is the mechanism that ensures you leave a life worth remembering. Momentum compounds. Every day you act, you accelerate progress. Every day you hesitate, you accumulate delay. By leveraging daily routines, disciplined effort, and consistent courage, you build an unstoppable force that carries you toward achievement. The opposite is also true. Every day spent in comfort compounds regret, weakness, and unfulfilled potential. The choice is yours. Fear will never vanish. Doubt will always arise. Obstacles will appear. But by 40, you will either be defined by avoidance or by mastery. By consistent action, accountability, and the courage to confront discomfort, you construct a life that withstands challenges and produces results. Every setback becomes a lesson, every failure a stepping stone, every obstacle an opportunity to strengthen resolve. The cumulative effect is monumental. Your legacy begins now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. Now. Every moment you delay is a brick added to the walls of compromise. Every action you take is a brick added to the foundation of achievement. Imagine the life you could live if you harnessed this day fully, if you acted relentlessly, if you refused to allow comfort, fear, or distraction to dictate your choices. That life is within reach, but only if you seize it. Visualize your 40-year-old self. See the success, the growth, the mastery, the impact. Now imagine the alternative, unfulfilled potential, regret, and the quiet ache of opportunities missed. The difference lies entirely in the actions you take today. Legacy is not inherited, it is built. It is constructed through courage, discipline, consistency, and relentless action. Act with urgency. Treat every day as non-negotiable. Treat every decision as a determinant of your future. Refuse to rationalize, delay, or surrender to comfort. Build momentum, cultivate resilience, confront fear, and break limiting beliefs. These are the pillars of a life that will be remembered, a life that will matter, a life that fulfills the potential you carry. 40 will arrive, you cannot stop it. You cannot postpone it, but you can ensure that when it does, you are ready. You can ensure that your life is a testament to effort, courage, and discipline. You can ensure that your legacy is not regret, but impact. Every day counts. Every action counts. Every choice counts. Do not wait. Act relentlessly now, until 40 and beyond. This is your life. This is your responsibility. This is your moment. Build, act, persist, and leave a legacy that proves you refuse to settle, refuse to delay, and refuse to allow fear to dictate the terms of your life. Time is fleeting. Potential is waiting. 40 is inevitable. Act now.